lucky at doing this, and we're really happy that he was able to join us. So please help me welcome Travis Center.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So yeah, Travis Center from Northeast Arkansas. Um, just got a few slides here. Obviously, I don't know if anybody's, Arkansas northeast corner, not far from Missouri Boot Hill. Um, I'm a early adopter to CropX technology. Um, got a few here. So this is basically our John Deere Operations Center map, how we kind of have everything mapped out. I like to have, obviously technology on everything. Um, I like to make sure everything's working properly, doing what it's supposed to do, and CropX is one of those that we like to do as well. So, kind of a map of our farm. We're pretty flat. A lot of our, row crop, we have cotton, rice, corn, and soybeans. We do a lot of furrow irrigation. I know a lot of pivot guys in this room. I had dinner with them last night. We kind of had some good conversations about that, but we do also have pivots. I have probably 8 pivots, about 40 miles of poly pipe we run every year. So here's obviously us working on some pivots, doing some irrigation. I farm with my father and my son. I'm a 3rd generation farmer. So this is the part where I get into the CropX side of things. My father has always said this, we've always done it this way. I'm sure you've heard it from some of your customers. This is the way we've done it. We're not going to change. Things, it's hard to get some people to change the way that they've done it. And, no exception. So basically in 2000, I've always farmed my entire life. We farm a 3rd generation farmer. My grandfather started in 47. My father started in 77. I was 98. I've always found a niche of a way that I can help on a farm. Within, doing something related to technology, data, record keeping, something like that. So when you get to the manual labor side of things where irrigation is, it's hard to really, find your niche and how you can improve things. But in the summer of 2016, my father had a heart attack. He had open heart surgery. So really that opened my eyes on things that I needed to do to improve our methods. And before that, I've had moisture sensors, in the past. I had in 2014, 2015, I had Field Connect units. I tried some watermark sensors. And in 2016, I looked it up. I pulled up Google. This is my first purchase of CropX moisture sensors. So I'm very fortunate that I've done this. That summer of 2016, where I was put in charge of basically making things work. That's where you got to really, get into the meat of it and try to make things better. So from that moment where I had to take the reins of the irrigation guys, we've had guys that's working for us for years and have done things, and they've always done it the same way. Going back to this, we've always done it this way. So when I took over in 2016 and kind of made some changes to the way we've done things with our soil moisture sensors that I just bought, I think, 2 sensors in 2016. And from there, the next year I bought 5. And then from there I bought 5 more just to add to the growing list of things that I had. So after that, now this is the graph that I like for you to see. If you look at the way we've done things from 2011 to 2016, you can see this is our cotton yields. From that point forward, from 2017 on, we've significantly increased our cotton yields. And I put this down, there's a lot of factors, but basically utilizing soil moisture sensors, utilizing technology, utilizing every tool that I had to make ourselves be better. Soybean yields, same thing, 2011, to 2016, and then you can see our jump in 2017. 2021, I added 125 CropX sensors. you can see a pretty significant jump that year. Just being able to see where we had, moisture, using our, soil moisture profiles, just anything we could do to make it where I could manage things better. So, pretty significant jump there for what we had. So, and looking back at this data, this is just real world data. This is nothing that I drummed up. I had this information pulled up the other day. I looked back and I remembered some of the things that we did up until this point. We I feel like we wasted a lot of water in the past, utilizing, bad methods, not utilizing, polypipe with hole selection, just not really taking care of things, basically. So when I started using the CropX sensors, just being able to see what I had going on, to visualize it and to make better decisions, I feel like it helped me a lot. And then obviously, some of the things we do here, I'm a pretty strong proponent of anything with technology. We use surge valves to save water, computerized hole selection. We've even had some robotic sprayers on our farm from John Deere. So a lot of different things. And pretty much that's all I had. If you had any questions, I didn't really have anything really prepared. We, try to use as much things as we can to make a better decision, to make a better crop. I'm open to any questions that we might have and I can ask to help you guys out.
We have a question here from the audience. Do you feel that you water more or less right now than you did previously?
Come again with that?
Do you feel you water more or less than you did before 2016?
I feel like I know I water less than I did in 2016. We just, obviously I water when I need to water. That's the biggest thing I take away from that. I'm a big proponent of installing the moisture sensors early. That's one of the biggest takeaways that I have is when I'm in a field, planning a field, I'm usually putting a sensor in. The earlier that you get that sensor and get that data and that reference level, the better information you can gather from that later on. So I try to get that done as early as possible and make that work. But I feel like I'm watering in a better method. You get situations where it seems like we've got a lot more volatile rain and weather events lately. You get, sporadic rains here, a lot of rain in some places and then none in others. So when you're able to have multiple moisture sensors in a field, then you can utilize that information to make a better decision.
Next question here is, do you use exclusively CropX or are there other probes you use as well?
Come again with that?
Do you use exclusively CropX probes or other probes that you use as well?
Yeah, so CropX probes 100% is what I have now.
Another question here, how do you handle installing them, any sensors?
Yeah, so with 125 sensors, that was a big, in 2021, I'll never forget this. 2 pallets of CropX sensors come in, and it was a lot of boxes to take apart. So that was, I kept thinking like, how am I going to get all these things in? But it's myself and my son. He was 15 at the time. So he helps me every day when we're irrigating. From June, and each of you in this room know that from June and July is completely stressful when you're dealing with irrigation. So you got to make sure you got those installed early, and we try to do that as much as we can early.
Next question we got here is, what would you say to a farmer who is skeptical of this technology?
So I get that a lot. That's one of the questions that, because I've got a lot of neighbors that look at, what I do and how we're able to manage some of this stuff. Never be afraid to try at least one sensor. You're going to get a lot of answers with one sensor. Multiple sensors, it takes a little bit of management practices, a little bit of, time to do it. But if you put one sensor in, one device, one mechanism to record and manage some of that data, you're going to get a better answer for what you're looking for.
What dictates where you place a sensor within a field?
So where I place it, so we're furrow irrigated and pivot, obviously. furrow irrigated, I try to put it on the high side of the field. So basically, and we are precision graded, so the water falls from one end to the other. I'm usually 150 feet out from the top end. I've tried multiple sensors in a field. Um, Pivot fields, I usually just look at soil type and crop type and try to make my decision based on where they go. And I may put more than one sensor in a pivot field just to get some of the variability, work it out.
Besides moisture sensing, what's the most used feature that you use on the CropX app?
Aside the, for the most part on the CropX app, I'm looking at the graph pretty much a lot. I look at the sliders for moisture, but the graph method is where I look and get most of my information.
What other software apps or platforms do you use around your farm?
Software apps, obviously big proponent of Ops Center from John Deere. That's a big one. When CropX integrated that, where you can pull that data over into John Deere was a blessing because now I can manage both. The app itself, so during June and July, I'm usually looking at CropX app more than anything. Software wise, we might use some other, softwares for land leveling, for elevation data, things like that. Pretty much anything tech I'm usually looking at and trying to make use of it.
Do you water based on each sensor per field, or do you schedule and plan your irrigation based upon the relative data from each sensor?
So every field is a little different. Every crop is a little different, soil type. So I kind of have stages of how I do my irrigation. But I will look at the sensors themselves and sometimes I will question the data. I mean, I'll go to that sensor and it says I need to water and I just watered 4 days ago. So, I'll go over there and look at it. It's not like I'm, going on vacation or going to the lake. I am on the farm every day during irrigation time, trying to make sure that I know what's going on. So, I use a combination of things to try to make my best use of my time and my irrigation practices.
Have you been able to utilize any government cost share programs?
Yes, so I work extremely strongly with NRCS. Anything that they can offer, usually I'm involved or try to be, on board with what they have going on. We have several EQIP programs that we've done with them for land leveling, for water reclamation projects, many things. And I always, fill out that form for the soil moisture sensor to get that data.
What information do you use in John Deere Ops Center?
What information do I use for Ops Center?
Yeah, between CropX and Ops Center, how do you best utilize that information flow?
Yes, so the data that we use most is obviously when it brings over those layers for the flags where you can see that moisture sensor flag coming on and off. That's for the most part what I use with the Ops Center as far as the integration between the two.
What would you say to someone that would just put their sensors in their similar soil types instead of every field?
So, every crop is a little different. I have done that where I had similar crops and similar soil types and put just one sensor for 300 acres. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. It seemed like when I put in more sensors, then I got a better, broader view of what was going on. When I just had 5, I didn't feel like I could put them in the places where I needed them. And I always felt like I needed one more. And then, so when I got that, those 2 pallets worth, it was, trying to figure out exactly what I could utilize them with. And, I've tried them in different crops. We've tried them in rice. We've tried them, in different row rice, even flooded rice, just to utilize and see. Because we use some different practices, with row rice, with alternate wetting and drying, trying to make sure that we manage that in the best way we can.
Do you have any thoughts on the ET sensor?
I'm interested in it. Obviously I want to know what it cost. That's the one thing I don't think I've heard that yet. I could see use from it. Any bit of data that you can collect is better than no data. And, so you've got to make sure that, but you also have to make sure that you can do it in an economical value and give yourself value that you can use. So I'd be, certainly on board to try one and see how it worked and see how I could manage it with what I have. So yes, I would try one.
Do you use any variable rate on your fields?
We do variable rate seeding, we do variable rate fertilizer applications, and variable rate spraying. I was an early adopter for the See and Spray technology from John Deere, so we have one of those. So anything to do with variable rate, I'm usually on board with.
What's the next best thing for you in terms of technology you want to try that'll make a difference?
So this is a good question. And it's one that's kind of near and dear to me. So I was an early user of ChatGPT. I don't know how many people in here have used ChatGPT. That is a big thing. That is, if I think about it in the terms of my relationship with my father, my father can't turn a computer on. He knows exactly what he wants. He knows the questions that he wants answered, and he usually asks me to do it. But now if he had ChatGPT in his fingertips, he could type in what he wanted. And so I feel like some sort of an AI ChatGPT integrated situation within the CropX system or within any system where we could just basically type in our question and we get our answer. And then you can fine tune it to get exactly what you want. I feel like, we're sort of on the ground level of some of this, being able to pull in historical weather data, our yield data, our moisture sensor data, our rain events, and really give us a better, broader base of, trying to create a model of exactly what yields we're going to, receive each year. If we can get to those levels of technology, that'd be just I couldn't express how, enthusiastic I would be if I could get that level of fine tuning with that. So I think ChatGPT has a lot of possibilities in our realm that we have today.
Did you utilize any of the disease, leaching, or imagery features within CropX?
Come again?
Did you utilize disease, nutrition, or imagery features in CropX?
So the imagery I do look at, obviously I have access to lots of different imagery software that I use and can use in different methods, but I did look through it in the CropX app, occasionally when I was utilizing it. For the most part, during irrigation, I'm usually just solely focused on those graphs, trying to make sure that I'm at the right level that we got going on. But the leaching, I really didn't utilize as much. I will going in the future. I just feel like, when I'm usually focused on irrigation, as each of you in this room are, that's like my number one goal. So, there's a lot of features in there that we needed to, utilize as the best of our advantage and to sell to our customers as well.
What suggestion would you have for CropX on how to grow or become even more popular in your area and with your other local growers?
It starts with the people in this room, all you dealers that can sell products to farmers. You've got to give them a way that they can see, a result. And, if I go back to that slide right there, that is, if you don't take anything away from this, what I've said, that slide right there is a real world example of me making a difference in what we do. I mean, if you look at the average yield from 2011 to 2016 versus 17 to 23, that's an 18 bushel difference. Now, if you put that in perspective, that's a lot of money per acre that you can generate. If you can utilize all the information at your disposal and make a good decision.
Do you find that other growers in your area are using moisture probes?
There are a lot of, so I know several that are using moisture probes. It's a lot of the younger guys that are trying to get on board and try to, advance themselves. I feel like though, some of the guys that want to use them too late. I'll hear them, say, "Hey, I'm gonna put my moisture sensor in today. It's June 15th. They're not gonna get anything really out of that. They need to have that thing in as early as possible to develop pretty much a baseline. That way, where you're at. I wish, you could make them get going earlier, but they just don't seem to think about irrigation until time. So if you can really get a guy to really focus on it early at the ground, the ground floor of getting your crop in, I think you'll be better off.
All right. Next question here is, have you seen anything with the nitrogen leaching feature on the probe, or do you think it will be more valuable moving forward?
Um, As far as nitrogen usage, or nitrogen leaching, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I think it's valuable. Anytime that you can give information, especially, for NRCS projects. I know going down the road, we're going to have to deal with a whole lot of situations as far as EPA, NRCS, anything we can do to give information for that is going to be better. That's just going to make CropX, sell more and to help us at the same time. So yes.
We have another from the audience.
So, where I'm located in Northeast Arkansas, water, I dare say water is prevalent, but it is. We are extremely blessed. 30 foot is about my average depth. My wells are at 150. I'm 20 miles from the Mississippi River, so I'm replenished quite often. But we have had pivots, but we are extremely flat, so we can precision grade that. And it's usually not necessarily for irrigation, it is for drainage as well. Being flat, we need to be able to drain that water off there. So, we do have pivots, and I have some pivots that I'll probably have for forever. The landowner likes to pivot, unless I buy it myself. And they may not be favorable for some of that flood type irrigation. So, I feel like, when I can level a field or grade a field to grade, I will, just because I get 100% of that field now where it drains and irrigates all at the same time with minimal effort.
You said you install right after you plant, before those seeds have even came up. Do you go back to the fields afterwards to make sure you're not near runt plants, or you've got good spacing around that, or how do you manage that?
Yeah, so most of our crops are on beds on rows. So usually I'll put the probe right in the middle of the crop, and then, I'll count out, I'll put it on match rows. I'll put it where the sprayer won't straddle it. Key positioning is very crucial as far as your installation. Really the only time I'll go back is if I've got a problem, or usually if BN sends me an email that a certain sensor is not working, I'll go look at it. But unless that's the case, I just look at it on the app.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is a great graph on the screen right now. But I was just wondering, because I know from 2017, you also you input like some cost and to get those averages that we see there. So how would you say, or what can you comment a little bit about the input and output? Is the difference significant to you? Like,
Yeah, so, if you look at just money value per acre, you could be gaining, and you can't put all this to CropX. I mean, there are other things we've done since 2016, but that is the main driver. That's the one thing that I did that really elevated myself. You know, per acre gain, $250 an acre, if you put a value to that, even on the cotton side of things, that pays for a sensor pretty quick.
Hey, Travis, thank you very much. Agronomically, do you find cotton to be the most challenging to manage with water and other inputs, or how do you think about that?
So yes, cotton is probably, corn is probably my easiest. Soybeans are fairly easy. Cotton is extremely susceptible to over irrigation. I really look, and I love the fact that CropX has the weather data in its graph. Like, that is a great selling point. That's a great feature that a lot of other apps do not have. So, if you were to water a cotton crop with furrow irrigation or even a pivot, and then get a 2 inch or 3 inch rain, you're kind of negating yourself. So you've got to be timely with your cotton irrigation. That's a key thing. It's hard to feel like that you gain anything with cotton sometimes, but it does show signs that you can look at. But the moisture sensor itself is really key. No more?